I'm not sure what is the problem, but I guess the sound should be there. I do not see any problem at my end. Can somebody please confirm some? Okay, thanks, Nair. Thanks for confirming. So I don't know what was the problem. So what I did is I rejoined, and now it looks good. Yeah. Thanks, Christy. Thanks, Monef. Okay, so let's quickly recap what we have done yesterday and what we're trying to achieve today. So yesterday we talked about RPA. We see how RPA tools can help you to automate your digital works. We have gone through some of the comparison to see which tool is better and what all tools are available in the market. We have also looked about some of the features that are available in a UiPath Studio and how UiPath Studio can be used to create a bot. We'll continue from there, and today we'll start working with the Excel. We'll start working with the Outlook and email. We'll start working with a web-based application to see how we can automate the things that we do on our websites. We'll also briefly talk about some of the selectors so that how you can identify the element on the web pages. And at the end of the session, we'll be discussing about what are the best practices and how AI and ML can be integrated with the RPA workflows. So that's the agenda for today. Without wasting any time, because we have almost wasted 5 minutes for the sound settings, let's quickly jump onto the PPT and start today's session. And I hope sound is better now. And I'll continue with the deck one. The first thing that I need to talk here is UiPath has provided lot many plugins and extensions. When I say plugins and extensions, that are add-on tools available with the UiPath Studio, right? UiPath has given terminal plugins so that you can automate the things on a mainframe system. So your process, if it interacts with the mainframe system and you want to automate that, you need to have a terminal plugin. Similarly, if you want to automate the process which contains SAP workflows where you need to upload some data into SAP or read some data from the SAP, you need to have SAP plugin enabled. And similarly, for working with the Microsoft Office product, Excel and Words plugins are also available. Not only this, there are different types of applications like Java or some Silverlight based applications or some applications which work in a remote desktop environment like Citrix. So for all those things, UiPath has provided the extension. Those can be enabled from the tools. So if you click on a home of your UiPath Studio and go to the tools, you should be able to see all of these extensions from where you should be able to install it pretty quick. There is no special instruction here. The only thing that you need to do is you need to click on the extension and it will automatically install. All right, so let's move on working on the Excel. And let's first cover me the theoretical part, and then I'll jump to the UiPath Studio to show you how exactly we can work with the Excels. Okay. Working with the Excel is a really important because no matter how small or a big task that you are doing on a day-to-day basis, by reading and writing data, we often need performing some task in Excel. And UiPath Excel Activities package is a really good. It has provided all the features that you need to have build an automation. Let's take example on a day-to-day basis what exactly we are doing into Excel. So either we go and read some information, that means we are reading from cell. We write some information, that means we are writing to cell, that is in Excel. We read range, that means we are reading a data from some few columns or few rows. Similarly, we are writing a data into few rows or few columns. And sometimes there is a data already present into the Excel and we are appending some data. So these are the few tasks that we will look into the practical session today, because if you are able to do these things, you should be able to do all of other things. And it's a pretty quick, straightforward. There is nothing you need to worry about. All you need to understand is basic working of setting of the sum properties, and that will look in next few minutes. For working with the Excel activity, you don't need to install any special packages, as I was discussing yesterday. Excel activity package will come by default. The moment you start a process to build a new process, this activity will be listed as a default dependencies. So you don't need to take care of any special managed packages, right? And if you look at how many numbers of activities are available, you will see that a lot of activities are available for the Excel to perform all of these tasks. You have read CSV, write CSV, filter table, append range, read cell, read column, read range, read row. So these all things depends on what kind of automation you are trying to build. Say for example, you want to copy paste a range. Copy paste range is a one activity that is available. Or your process already have some macros and you want to run that macro, you should be also able to execute the macro using the UiPath activities. That is also available, right? So these are the few activities which are available. This keep changing and this keeps get updated. So if you see something here, there might be a chance next time when the UiPath has got updated, they list few more activities, right? So next few activities will come here and few activities might be removed from the UiPath upgrade. And that's the reason I have mentioned activities keep updating, and it has to become with the release cycle and also based on the Microsoft Office product update. So if there is an update in a product, there might be a chance that you'll be getting a new activity bundled with the UiPath to perform those tasks. All right. Similarly, there are scenarios when you don't have Office product installed on your machine. So there could be two scenarios. One scenario is Microsoft Office is installed on your machine where you are doing automation. Second scenario could be you are doing automation on a machine where there is no Excel installed. So even if there is no Excel installed, there is a system integration that works. But the problem with the system integration is there will be a limited set of activities which are available if you don't have Excel installed on your system. So if Excel is installed on your system, you should be able to perform all of these things pretty quick because the activities are available. But if Microsoft Office product is not installed on your machine, you should be only able to do these things because these are programmatically done. And these all activities contains the API and DLL from the Office. So for executing these, Office need to be installed on your machine. And that's the difference between app integration. That means it's integrating using your Excel app on your machine. It's integrating using system integration. That means it's using the programmatic way to read and write the data into the Excel. So that's how the Excel integration will work. And I'll give a quick demo by going into the UiPath Studio to see how it works. Before giving a demo, let's quickly cover one more thing, which is the data tables, right? So sometime what you need to do is you need to read the data and you need to put data into a tabular format where you have some rows and columns. So UiPath has also provided a variable type called data table, which is basically available in a C# edu.net representation, right? Now, if you want to perform some complex calculations or complex data, reading from one source, putting into a different source, so you might need data table for performing the operations. And that's the reason UiPath also provides a data table class, which can be used to store data in a row and column format instead of storing data directly into a variable. So that's the difference. The only thing that you need to do here is when you store the data into data table, you need to use a for loop so that you can loop through each row. Say, for example, if this is the data table, this data table has 4 rows and 3 columns. And if you want to read the data which is available in a first row, third column, you need to loop it through so that you can read the data, right? So that's a pretty simple programmatic concept, and it can be used in a UI path as well. There is nothing special here about. And for managing this data table, that means if you are dealing with a data which is in a tabular format, you have these many activities available. So there are scenarios when you have, a big Excel sheet and you want to filter some of the records based on certain conditions. What you can do is you can read the Excel data into a data table type of variable, and you can perform these operations. I mean, you can filter data table by specifying the filter condition. If we take the example of this one and say, for example, this Excel is a really big and we have 10,000 of records, and we want to filter only records which having the age is greater than 20. So we should be able to do using this filter data table activities, right? So that's the use of filter data table activities. We'll have a look when we're doing a hands-on. That's I'll also cover when we are doing the Excel. And before moving to Studio, let's look at the Outlook email activities. So Excel we understand, and similarly, Outlook is an integral part of our day-to-day life. We do a lot of stuff. Reading email, moving email from one folder to another folder, marking it as a complete, marking it as a read, extracting the information from a Outlook, saving it somewhere, and all those things. So email automation is a really good. If you want, say for example, even if you're for home, not even in your organization, you want to filter all the spam messages that you are getting from not many XYZ companies saying 40% discount, 60% discount, and all those. You should be able to build a sample workflow that will clean and delete all the spam messages, right? So we'll have a look of these all examples. So let's quickly jump and go to the UI Path Studio and see how we can actually work on all of these Excel and email things, right? So I'll stop the presentation here, okay? And I'll go to the UI Path Studio and share the UI Path Studio screen. All right, so let me share my screen of UI Path Studio. And I hope you are able to see. You need to bear with me. Reason being the font size of UI Path Studio is really small. So you will have really tough time to see this font size. But you should be able to follow the same steps when you do it on your machine. So what I can do is I can able to zoom the canvas part which is in the center of the screen, but I won't be able to do the zoom on all of other ribbon and tabs. So you should be able to see this part which is in a center, which is a canvas where you need to design a board in a better way, because I have increased the font size to 200%, but I won't be able to change setting of these things. So might be in future UiPath come with some setting where you can increase and decrease the font, but as of now it is not there. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do or look at is we are looking at the email data extraction, right? And what we're trying to do here is, let me first tell you what we're trying to do here, and then we'll have a look on the flow and I'll tell you how you can do this thing. Okay, so for that I need to open my email and I need to share you the Outlook. So here is Outlook. Okay, and what I'm trying to do, I have a folder here called stocks, and I'll mark some of the emails as unread. Okay, so that I am reading these. I'll also mark this email as an unread because it had attachment and I want to read this attachment. I have put 3 emails as an unread, and let me close this Outlook now. So now I have a 3 email which is marked as unread, and I'm trying to read them using UiPath, and I'll perform some operations like saving the attachment from the email to this folder. Okay, so I'll delete these ones which is already there, so that And I'll delete this file because this file will download again. So let's look at the flow and how you need to build a flow. First thing, right? So the thing that you need to do is, first thing that you need to do is you need to create a flowchart from here. So when you create a flowchart will come like this. Okay. And the next thing that you need to do is you need to check the Outlook activities. So here are the Outlook activities, right? There are 4 Outlook activities, and the one Outlook activity that we are going to use in this example is a get Outlook message. So I'll drop it here. Okay. When you drop the get Outlook message, it will ask you for some of the properties. The properties are, you need to tell which folder you want to read data into, and you need to tell one variable where you will be storing the data, right? So this is how the property can be configured. As of now, by default, it's reading data from the inbox. And then there is also a checkbox here where you can see that you want to read only unread messages or the read messages as well. Or if you want to mark that as a read, so you can select the checks as per your need and requirement. There is another option called filter. And those who want to read only specific email, say for example, XYZ sender or XYZ subject or subject contains this, those kind of configuration can be done. And you can easily Google out and search on a UiPath forum to understand how you can apply the filter. Because if I go and explain these filters, I won't be able to complete the session. So you can search out how you can apply the filters and you will be able to get the answers, right? So the most common property that you need to configure here is, the first one is a mail folder. That means the folder or the name of the folder from where you want to read the email. And then if you want to mark that email as a read, or you want to read only unread messages. So these are the 3 configurations, and at this message you need to define one variable where you will be storing all the emails so that you can process them further. Creating a variable having a shortcut. So when you press Ctrl+K, it will ask you for the name. So I'll say my messages as mails and I press enter. So whatever the mail that it will read from the inbox, it will be stored in a mails. But mind it, mails is of list type. So it will contain multiple mails. So if you need to go to one particular email, you need to apply a for loop, right? You need to read one email using a for loop, and then you need to perform operation on that. Okay. So that's how you should be able to use this Outlook mail message. So now let's close this property because I have explained you what properties you need to set. So let's go to the example and see here what I'm trying to do using the same detail that I have shown you. So the first thing I am doing here is I have created a variable called folder path, and I am saying whatever the project location is, that is environment.current directory. So this is the current directory. In the current directory, there is a folder called output data. So that's what I am concatenating here and saving it into a folder path. So this is the path of this folder. Now there is a concept called path exist. So what you need to do is you need to check if folder is already there or not, because if folder is not there, we might need to create it to save the data, or if folder is there, don't do anything. So if you look at the properties of this, there is a only property that you need to save is a path exist. So for the check path exist, you give the path type is a file and you give the name. So name is the name which we created in this step. So we checked it. If path is there, I mean folder is there, so we can write line using. So what you can do is you can use write line, or you can also use log message. Which depends on what you want to use. So you can also do a log message saying folder already there. So continue. And if folder is not there, what you can do is you can use another activity called create folder. So you can search for the activities, create folder, and you can simply drop it here. And you have to give the name of the folder that you want to create. Because we have already done this, so let me delete this one. So it will again say folder info. Or if you want to put a log message again, so you should be able to do log message or a message box as well. So if you want to display this as a message box, you should be also able to do that. All depends on what kind of requirement you have. So I want to put a message box here saying folder created, right? So this is how you can build your flow. Okay. So once the folder is there, the next step is to get the Outlook message. And I have explained you what are the configuration I have done here is the same configuration that I explained you. I have selected the file folder path is inbox and stocks because I need to read the emails from a folder inside this one. And there are 3 emails that I need to read. So I'll close this. And now what I have done is email has certain properties, right? It has lot many properties. So it can contains who has sent it, what is the subject line, what is the from address, to whom it is sent, are there any person in the CC, what is the time the mail has been sent, what is the text of the mail, and is there any attachment. So for saving all of these data, what I have created is I have created a data table. So for that, what you need to do is you need to drag a build data table activity from here. When you build a build data table activity here, you need to click on this. And when you click on this, you will see that you need to define the columns where you need to store the data. So I have defined these columns. Defining a column is pretty easy. You need to click on this and give the column name. Say, for example, I want to give a column name read or read, and you need to define what type of data you want to store. So I want to store as a string, and you press OK. So the moment you press OK, it will be created. So I'll remove this one and I'll remove. Okay. So this is how you will build a data table. So only what we have done here is we have defined a structure, but we haven't defined what data we are saving, right? Because we are looping through the mail. So now the main concept is here. So in the previous this step, what you have done is whatever the emails you have, all those emails you are storing into this variable read emails. And what is read emails? So it is a list of all the mails that UiPath has returned, right? So for our example, it will be a 3 emails, right? So I need to loop it through this read emails so that I can go to the individual email and see what data is there, right? So I am going to for each email. So for each mail in read emails, what I'll do, I'll again build a sequence and check if mail dot attachment any. So you might be thinking why you are writing all of these things. So once you get a huge tool of UiPath Studio, these things will automatically come into mind. First time it looks complicated. The reason being there will be an activity inside another activity inside another activity. And that's the reason it looks complicated, but it's pretty simple. All you need to do is you need to click on this one and you need to select anything from here and type it. So it should be pretty easy, right? So what we are doing here is we are checking if the email has any attachment. If attachment is there, save that attachment. So save attachment is another activity that is also available in Outlook package. So Outlook package, if you look at, you can simply save attachment. So you'll see this property, right? So this property you have dragged here, and you said that I want to save the attachment from the mail into output data folder. This is the name of the folder where you will be saving the data, which is nothing but here. So this is the name of the folder that I have put here. Any string that you want to write here, you need to put into a double quote. So that's the reason we put into a double quotes. And then similarly, we are checking if there is a CC in email. So if there is a CC, we are putting into a CC variable. Similarly, we are reading subject line, from address, to address, mail body, and mail date. And all of these data is inside the mail. Mail is nothing but an instance of this read email. So read email is a list. From this list, we are reading one mail at a time. We are extracting the information from that email. We are extracting the attachment. We are extracting the CC. We are extracting the subject line. We are extracting the to address. We are extracting the mail body. We are extracting the mail data. And once all of these informations are extracted, we are again using a data table activity to add a row. So once this all information is added, what we are doing is we are writing them into a one go using this format. So in the first column, we are saving subject line. In second column, we are saving form address. In third column, to address, then CC, then mail data, then mail body, then mail attachment. Right? So this is how you will save the data. And once you save the data, what we are doing, the email that we have read, we are moving that email into a drafts, right? So there will be a folder called drafts. So once this email has been read from here, I'll move them into draft. See, so you can delete these previously because so there is nothing here. So when we run this workflow, this email will read from here and then also move here. Okay, so that's how we are doing. And at the end, it will go for a loop and all the data will be saved into data table. And at the end, what we are doing, we are saying that whatever the data we have into a data table variable, write into a folder, which is nothing but output data with the name mailinfo.xls, right? So we are writing the data back into the disk. For writing the data, you can use this activity. I know this is the first time that you are seeing if this activity looks complicated to you, but trust me, the only thing that you need to understand is what are the properties that you need to configure, and all the activities are here. So if you think about anything that you do, so say for example, I have a data, I want to write into a file. So you'll search for information. Here is write. So when you see the write, you will see what all write activities are available, right? So write CSV, write range is that one we are using now, right? And when you drop it, you will see a properties panel here. And this property panel, you need to configure what is the data that you are writing and where you are writing. And do you also write headers? If you want to add headers, check this. If you do not want to add headers, don't check this. So that's what you are doing. So all of these properties cannot be remembered and nobody can teach you all of these properties. The only thing that if you're trying to build something, you need to go and read the documentation of UiPath and try to experiment with a different property setting. Say for example, I should be able to check this and check this to see what is the difference when I am saving the data with add headers and what is the difference if I'm saving the data without add headers, right? So so this is our whole workflow of the email. So it looks like this one. Let me minimize this so you should be able to see it. First, you are checking the folder. If folder is there, good. If not folder, create a folder. Then read the email, read the information from email, put into a data table, and at the end, save that data table into Excel file. So that's what we are doing. In middle, there is also sorting of a data. So what we are trying to do, we are sorting the data in ascending form on the basis of the column mail date. So on the basis of date time, it will be sorted. So that you can also do. You can sort the data. If you want to remove something, you should be able to remove it. You should be able to delete it or whatever information you want to do. So let's quickly go and run this workflow, right? And how you can run this workflow. So there are two ways of running this workflow. One is in a debug mode. So debug mode is when you want to see what data is having contained into the variables. So you can set a debug. And if you do not want to see the immediate data, so you can straight away go and run file. Okay. So I'll show you example. If you want to debug and you want to wait here to see, so you should be able to put a breakpoint so that it will start running from here. When it come here, it will wait for you to see the intermediate results. And if you do not want to see the intermediate result, you can straight away go and run the file, right? So as of now, if you look at this folder, there is no file here and no attachment here. But when I run this, so you can see that folder has been created. And now it has read 3 emails. If you look at here, because the loop runs for the 3 times because we have 3 emails and then it has completed. Now you do not see anything here because you need to refresh. And once you refresh, you will see that one file, which is the attachment into the email. Let's quickly go to the Outlook. So 3 emails were here, which were unread. Now they are moved into draft. So these are the 3 emails. And one email having the attachment. And that attachment name is this one, which is now saved here. Right? You able to see this? Apart from the attachment, we have also contained all the informations of the emails into this Excel. So if you look at this Excel, it has taken all the things. What is the subject? Who had sent it? To whom it has been sent? Is there anything in a CC? What is the date time? What is the mail body? So that is the email, right? And then it's having attachment or not. If it is having attachment, I have put it is a collection. If no attachment, it will say no attachment, right? So that's a pretty straightforward, a quick example where you are getting the data. But automation will not end here because what you have done is you have only read the data from Outlook and you want to put this data to work. So there may be a number of steps after reading the data. You have downloaded the information from the email and you want to input that data on some XYZ portal or internal portal. Say, for example, somebody has sent you the information on Excel and you want to read that Excel and put into a website. Or you want to read the invoice that has come as an email and put into another CRM system or SAP. So for building an end-to-end automation, first you need to break your task in smaller pieces, right? Say, for example, invoice payment. So invoice payment can be break into, couple of parts. The first part is check if the vendor has sent the file or invoices or not. If it is there, receive the invoices, save into a folder. One task. Reading the PDF accurately and comparing with the existing system could be another task. Then if the data looks good, inputting into a different system would be another task. And finally, sending for the payment could be another task, right? So all of these tasks can be divided into a different workflows. One workflow should contain a unit of task, or there is no limitation how small task you can define or how big task you can define. And the only thing that you need to understand there is, if you are building a big automation, try to build it in a smaller way so that maintenance is easy. Or if something goes wrong, you should be able to fix that part pretty quick and pretty easy, right? So for that, you should break your automation into smaller parts. Like reading an email could be a one workflow. Saving a file into a different SharePoint location or a folder location could be another workflow. Putting the data from the PDF into a website could be a third workflow. And then finally sending for the payment and reports could be another workflow. So that's how you should logically decide the steps of the automation and build it one by one, slowly, and then you should be able to a big achievement. Any questions so far on the email automation before I move to the Excel? If you have any question, please ask now. You can put your questions in the chat and I should be able to answer them. Thanks for asking, Naya. So this file can be saved anywhere. All you need to do is you need to configure the folder. So for your answer, what you need to do is you need to go here, and in this loop we are saving the data and we are saving in the output folder. So what you can do, you can select on these three dots, select the folder where you want to save the file. So you can be able to select into download and then save it. So it will be saving the file here. So now when I run this at automation, file will be saved here. So it is highly configurable. Credentials, Ravi, credentials, I didn't get your point. So are you saying that there is a credential in the email and you want to upload it on a website, or how you are trying to say? Could you please rephrase your question, please, if possible? Meanwhile, any other questions on this Outlook automations, email automations? Because I'll move to the web-based application part, and then I'll also cover. Okay, so Ravi, when you're saying credential are there in an email, it will be entirely depend on you whether you want to upload that or not. So here, if you look at what we are doing is we are reading the mail body here, right? So we are reading the mail body. So in mail body, you should be able to put a regex saying that if there is a credential, replace it. So you should be able to apply any. So I can do like here. You should be able to write a logic for not to upload the password here, because you have a mail body. In the mail body, you have all the data and you should be able to do it. Right? Any other question before I move to the next part? I know it's really not easy to understand in a one go. So for that reason, what I have done is I have sent all the files, all the lab exercise that we are doing now, as an example to you. So you should be able to try them, modify them, change them as you wish. So all these examples that I'm doing in front of you, I have already sent those, on this chat box. So you should be able to download it and you should be able to, use them as you need. Yeah. All right. So let's quickly go back to the PPT and then let's first look about if we need to automate something on a website or web application, what are the things that you need to know? And then we'll come back again and we'll go to Amazon, pull some data, do some scrapping and write them data into Excel. So that will be the last exercise. All right. So let me go to the presentation and I'll start the presentation. I'll start it from, I have a, okay. So we have covered this one. Now we have to talk about the selectors. Okay. What is selector, right? For anything you need to automate how UiPath is working. UiPath is trying to figure out which button it need to click. It's trying to figure out which input field I need to type into. UiPath is also trying to understand where is the table, right? And all those things. So how UiPath or any other RPA program works is they read the tree structure of the application to understand how the application is organized. If you understand the concept of the HTML, you can say whenever UiPath is trying to automate a web application, it's reading the DOM, which is a document object model of the application. And then it's generate a tree to see what elements are where and what are their unique properties. So whenever we do a web automation or automation for the website, what we do is we identify an element on a web page using the selectors. So in simple words, you can say selectors is nothing but a unique identifier to identify an element on a web page. There could be a scenario when you have two buttons on a web page. They looks like identical, but there must be some properties or you can say attributes which will be a different. So to identify one element different with the other element, you need to look about their attributes. So every selector would have different attributes. Based on our need, we should be able to edit and modify the attribute so that we can uniquely identify the elements on the website. We'll have a look in next few minutes how we should be able to identify the element. But before that, I need to tell something more about how selectors exactly work using the selector editor panel. So UiPath has given a tool called UI Explorer that is used to identify or indicate an element on a website or a desktop-based application to understand how the application will be composed. It displays the selector of the UI element that we are trying to identify. It gives you the properties window from where you should be able to check, uncheck, select, unselect. The bottom part of the panel will give you the details about what you have already selected. And there is a one important tab which is highlight, which tells you how your elements are being spied or not. So you should be able to test it using the highlight button, right? Let's quickly jump back to UiPath Studio and see how they work in action. Right? So I'll stop the slide presentation. I'll go back to the UiPath Studio and explain this again. So for using the UiPath UI Explorer, you need to click on this UiPath Explorer button. When you click on a UI Path Explorer button, this new window will come. This new window is used to identify the element. So what we can do is we will open a page and try to see how we can able to spy an element on a web page. Or so for the example, I have taken an e-commerce website, and what I'm trying to do here is searching camera. When I search the camera, it has listed lot many lists, right? My work of automation is to put or to pull all the data that is listed on this page. So what I need to do is I need to grab this field and the price, or maybe this star rating, right? So how I should be able to do it? For doing this, what you can do is the first you need to open the web page, go to that page where you need to select the selectors, fire up this UI Path Explorer, right? And then click on the indicate element. When you click on the indicate element, this will be shown, right? Sorry, the UI path, actually there is a one problem. When UI Path plugin doesn't get auto resolve, you'll see nothing is getting highlighted. It's highlighting the entire page. It's highlighting the entire window. So for fixing this, you need to enable the extension. So extension is not enabled. That's the reason it's not working. So for that, you need to go to the tools. You need to install this edge extension. And when you install this edge extension, you will be able to use that. But for now, what I'll do is I'll use the Chrome, because Chrome having the extension already enabled. And I do not want to close the presentation that I'm doing from Edge. So let's do the same thing from the Chrome. So it is here. And now I am trying to identify one element. So you can see that instead of the entire page, now every element is getting spied. Look at these things, right? Previously not happening. The reason being the UiPath extension was not working, and that you can install it from the studio. So if I want to read this particular text, I'll click on this one. The moment you click, it will generate the selectors. And you should be able to modify it using the attributes. So these are the attributes that I was talking about. And this is the tree structure of the web page, how UiPath sees this page, entire page. And then based on your selections here, say for example, I want to select the title as well and this class as well. So it will be changing. And when you highlight this, click on the highlight, you will see that the page is highlighting. That means our selection of attributes is good. And if you change something, let's delete this one and try to highlight now. This is still highlighting, reason being other attributes are matching. So what I'm trying to explain you here is, whenever you do a web scraping or you're trying to read the data from any website, you need to experiment with the different attributes to see if by removing that or by including something, it is still readable or not. So say for example, I remove this one. You can't remove. Okay, this one I have included. I have removed the A name and I have included the title, and then again I'll try to highlight it. So still I am able to do it. Sometime what will happen is if you change these properties, you are not able to highlight it. So you need to give a 2-3 tries before making a suitable selector so that you should be able to read the data from any web page. This is how you work with the selectors. Okay. Again, if you want to read this image, that is also possible. If you want to read this checkbox, that's also possible. If you want to read this drop down, that's also possible. But there will be a different way of doing this, and I'll cover them in next few slides. So for now, you understand that how a selector can be created using the UiPath Explorer. You should be able to change the attribute from here to identify what you need to read from the screen, right? Let's close this. Let me close this. Let me close this. Okay. Now I am closing this example, and I'll explain you this Amazon example in more detail. But before that, I need to go back to the presentation to explain you a few more points, and then we'll come back to the studio. So I'll stop sharing the UiPath Studio, go back to the presentation, and we'll start the presentation again, and then we'll come back to the UiPath Studio. So this I have already explained how you can change the dynamic selectors, so you don't need to worry about. Here I need to tell you something. If the web page is of static nature, all the forms and the fields will be visual. But there might be a chance that if you look at your environments or in your organization, you might see that sometime when you log in into some application, it takes a while to load the page, right? Or before performing some operation, you need to check if the field is there or not. If field is there, that means you are good to go, right? Let's take a typical scenario. So you have a CRM, right? And that CRM needs your username and password to enter, right? And once you enter into the CRM, you log on the dashboard. So on the dashboard, you have some identifier to identify that this is a dashboard page, right? But when you are running the automation, you are not seeing that. So you need to tell your bot that once you enter the user and ID and password and you click on a submit, you need to wait for some time. And after that, you need to check that if there is a new page where exists an element having name dashboard, so that you can start typing into the data or start clicking onto the sum button. When we do it by ourselves, it's pretty easy. But when you are designing a bot, you need to consider about the network delays. Sometime clicking on a submit will turn up the page too fast. Or sometime the page will not come at all in next 2 seconds or next 2 minutes, right? So in those things, you need to put some delays to wait your bot and check it again. Or maybe you can put some retry logic that I have clicked the submit, the dashboard has not appeared. Please wait for a 10 seconds and try to check if the dashboard is written over there or not. So those kind of things you need to think through when you are building the automation on a web page. Similarly, there will be some scenario when the entire list of items are not visible you on the screen. Only one element is visible, but it has lot many children elements. So you need to use the concept of find children and find element to identify if they are hidden. So these are the few, finding controls method that you need to deploy when you are building a real-time enterprise bot. These are self-explanatory. However, this comes when you practice a lot. There might be a scenario where you can handle the things using the element scope and element exists, but there might be a similar scenario where you won't be able to use this and you need to go for get ancestor or find a relative element. Find a relative element is a another concept. It's basically you are saying you are not able to identify one element on the screen, but you are able to identify an element which is beside that or which is 5 steps above or which is below that particular button. So in those scenario, what you can do is instead of finding the actual element, you are finding it relatively. So you are saying there exists a button after button X having properties so and so. So all those things, these are all, way to handle the unknown scenarios or handling a dynamic loading and data and all those things. And these things comes with a practice. If I'll keep go and explain all of these things in a detail, I won't be able to complete the example. And that's the reason I just wanted to give you the brief detail that sometime you need to work with the different technologies or different mechanism to finding the controls. Similarly, sometimes you need to wait for something to happen before you can proceed further. You have clicked it on a submit button, but there is some processing that is happening at the background. Or there might be one image, you are waiting for that image. You must have seen there are a lot many pop-up images coming and you need to wait so that that spinner or a flash screen goes, and then only you should be able to perform next step. So in those scenario, there are three other controls: wait element, wait image, and wait attribute. Those are really, really useful to wait your bot for certain duration before it go and checks for the next step. So with this, we are good to build the automations. Now the other thing is how you input data on a web page. What are the input methods, right? We have looked about how we can identify the element. So we identify that there is a button. We identified there is a field where we need to input the data. We identified there is a button that need to be double click, right? So for these, there are three activities which are available in a UI path. First is a send hotkeys. Second is a type into. Third is a type secure text. Right. Send hotkeys are used whenever you want to send something which you do not type. Say, for example, you want to send F5 for refreshing the web page. So you can send hotkeys F5, or you want to press enter on some screen. So you can send hotkeys as enter, or you want to send control plus alt plus delete on some web page to perform some operation. There are some shortcuts like control N, or there are shortcuts like control S or control P. So in all of those scenarios where you need to send a shortcut or you need to send some hotkey, you can use the activity called send hotkeys, right? Similarly, if you want to type into something, you can use some method called type into. And if you want to type the password, you need to use a method secure text. This is for sending the input. Similarly, there are activities called click activity, double click activity, and hover activity. Click activity is when you want to click on a button, or double click when you want to click on some button or some field on a two times. So that's the basic thing that I want to explain before we jump into the web automations, right? Let's move to the next and let's go back to the UiPath Studio, try to see how we can automate the web applications, right? How we should be able to identify the text field and type into. How we should be able to read the data using the data scraping that I have explained you yesterday in brief, right? So I'll stop the presentation, and that's the end of the presentation. I'll go back to the UiPath Studio and explain the concepts in much detail. If you have any questions regarding the web application automator, you can write in a chat box and I should be able to answer those when we're having a 10 minutes QA session at the end of this presentation. The other thing that I like to announce here is, there is some offer that has been given by Senthil, yesterday, and those coupons are not valid for, lot many days. So if you want to apply for a coupon, you can apply within few days. So those coupons are valid for, I guess, 22nd of Feb, and you can contact the Senthil for that. So all those offers and the coupons that the Senthil has announced yesterday, they'll be valid till 22nd of Feb. And if anybody want to join a full-fledged course on RPA, which lasts for almost 2 months, if weekends, then you should get contact with the sent in, and you should be able to apply those offers and coupons, right? And those coupons are available only for the few days. So you can check the coupons from the website page as well. And that has been posted now in a group. Okay. All right. So let's stop this presentation and go to the UiPath Studio to explain how we can do a web automation. I'll start sharing my UiPath Studio again. And I'm really sorry that we can't increase the font of the UiPath Studio as of now. If it is not good visible, I should be able to only change the size of the font, which is in the center of a screen where we will build actual bot. Right. So again, we are starting with the similar concept that we have seen in the mail data extraction. We have created a folder, similar. So I just copied pasted it from the previous example. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a folder path, which is current directory plus output data, which is nothing but here. I'm again checking if folder is there or not. If folder is there, it's good to go. If folder is not there, folder exists, good to go. If folder is not there, it will create a folder. So this is, we have seen into the last example as well. So nothing new here. Once it is done, now we are doing the automation using open browser. So what all are here? Let me adjust the screen so that you should be able to see it in a more detailed way. So what I'm doing here is, the first thing that I'm doing is I'm opening a browser. So for opening a browser, what you need to do is I'll create a new file just to explain how this works. So I'll just create a sample file. And for opening a browser, what you need to do is you need to search for a browser activity. So in the browser, you should be able to see these activities are there, right? So there are two options. One is navigate to, another one is open browser. So what we'll do is we select this open browser and we'll drop it here. The moment you drop it, it will ask you for the URL, the URL which you want to open. So if I want to open the URL, which is nothing but this one, so I'll simply go and remove this part because I want to launch from the home page. So I'll select this one, size it, and put it here. One thing that you need to note is you need to put that into a quote. So this is what you have done. There are a few other properties that you need to make sure here is you need to tell which browser you want to use. So this will automatically, this drop down will be automatically available on the basis of your system configuration. So if you have a Chrome or if you have an Edge, this should be available to you. So I have selected the Chrome for now. And then these are some properties which are optional. So you don't need to much worry about these because these are optional. These are required when you want to open a multiple session or you want some, communication methods and all those things. But for our case, we are simply doing this one. So we are trying to open a browser. So Amazon will be open. Now, the concept that I was explaining, because when you open a browser and if you try to do something here, there might be a chance that your bot has executed this while the page is loading in the background and you're trying to do something. So that will fail. So in those scenarios, what you can do is you can check for the element exists. So before performing the next step, what you need to do, you need to check that if that element is there or not, right? And if that element is there, then only perform next steps. So what I'm trying to do here is when the web browser is launched and I'm on this page, what I'll do, I'll check if this logo is here or not. If logo is there, then only perform some task. So for doing that, I'll click on indicate element. I'll go to this page. I'll select that I'm checking if today's deal or let's say today's deal is available or not. So I'll select this field. I'll configure the properties of this edit selector. This is same that I have shown you, and you can highlight it to see if it has been selected, or you should try to change this property to see if it is highlighted, right? So this is a simple one. So you don't need to worry about much, but you can validate this, and I put it here, and I'll put a variable, a Boolean variable saying exists, right? And now what I'll do is I'll do a if else structure and check if exists. That means this button is there, and now perform task. So after this, if I want to type into this one, right, and I want to click onto this one, how I should be able to do it? So for that, the first thing that I need to do is type into, right? So for type into, what I'll do is I'll put a type into here, and now I'll select where I need to type into. So I need to type into this box, right? Select this one. So it will say what I want to type. So I want to type camera, or let's say I want to type laptop this time. Okay. So you should be able to do laptop. Now, when you type into, there might be a scenario that the page will change, or after typing, you want to press enter, right? So you should be able to say that after typing a laptop, I am pressing enter. Or if you do not want to press enter, you can do a type laptop, and then what you can do is again on this page, you can click on this icon, right? So I'll drop another activity called click, and I'll drag it here, and I'll select which element it need to click. So it need to click this one. So this will be done. Okay, so it will type here and click here, and then I'll put a log message saying this time I'll read. Sorry. Now I'll do another thing which I'll read. You can read. Let's do first this, and then I'll explain you something more. So I'll write log message saying done. This way you should be able to tell, save it, and try to run it from here. So you should be able to run it using the debug here, or you run. So I'll try to run it debug in a mode. So it has launched this application. See, if I type the laptop, it has pressed the search bar, and that's what we have built, right? Now, if you look at here, it has completed. It's saying done. So now we are on this page, and we want to extract all these information which are listed here, right? I want to read this one, I want to read this one, I want to read this one, I want to read this one. And how should we be able to do it? There are different ways of doing it. Different techniques are available. Some uses screen scrapping, some uses data scrapping, some uses for loops, some uses printing this into text file and then grabbing the data. So it's all depend how structured the data is, and then you should be able to perform the operation. For our use case, what I'm going to do next is I'm trying to explain you a scrapping wizard, and I want to scrap the data which is listed here. So I'll do on a design and put a data scrapper on. So now I have a data scrapper on. Data scrapper tells you that the browser is already open and the page is already open. So we have already on a page where we need to read the data. Now we need to select the field that we need to read. So click on a next. I need to read this one. So I have selected. I am removing all those which are sponsored. Sponsored listing. I am reading the only which is a true listing. So I selected this one. The moment you select, it will say, do you find any pattern of a similar field that you want to read from the collection? So yes, I want to read the entire page. So I'll say next, and I'll say the next title is this one. So sometimes it doesn't work that way, because you need to, you know, these e-commerce sites are also pretty much, you can say, they're ready that nobody is grabbing their data, so they differ the tags by some unique identifier, so that the people are not capturing this data using some tools and bots. So they do it programmatically. So for that, what you need to do is you need to experiment a few times to identify that if the data is getting selected or not. So this time it is not being selected because the elements differ by a different tag. So what you can do is you can go back, start selecting it from the first time again. This one and then this one. This time it has got succeeded. And when you click next, you should be able to see all the data which is available. So you can see. So all what I'm trying to explain here is you might not be able to extract the data in a first go, right? So you need to experiment few times to see if the tags are getting selected perfectly. And when you do the extraction, this entire data will be saved into some data table. Is multiple pages? No. So you have done it. So it will save the data into extracted data table. And now what I can do is I can apply a for loop in extracted data table. Sorry, this the argument, the variable that we have saved is to be put global. So extracted data table and print or you can say get row or you can give the column name or column, column object or column index. So I'll give a column index as a 1 and data table row as a 1. Or you can simply give a data row object from above thing. Or there are many ways of doing it. Even if you do not want to perform, the Excel operation, you can straight away go and print it. Write message. Write line and row dot item array dot to string. So they should be able to print. Now we'll save it again. Okay, and we'll close this because this is already open. I haven't written the workflow which is closed, which is closing the browser. So I have done this and I'll run this. So it is opening a page, typing a laptop, going there, extracting the data, and the result will be done. So it's writing the data. I have not typecasted them, but you can see that we have received the data as an object and we should be able to print it. Okay. So let's look at the complete example. So this I have already done for you guys. And this is the same concept that I have used in a try. It is written here. So let's look at this carefully. First, I am checking the folder. If folder is there, if not, create a folder, open a browser, maximize the window sometime because you need browser will open in a small page. I am checking if logo is there or not. If logo is there, I am selecting a products. So what have done here is I have taken, I need to grab data for smartphones, laptops, and camera. For these three category, I'll be searching a data, and I'm searching it from Amazon.com, not the Amazon.in. And now, whatever the data that will be on the page, it will be scrapped. And for each row of the rating, I am capturing here and writing that data by sorting into a Excel file. So you should be able to write into Excel file. So it should be able to give a data similar to like this, where you will have different tabs for the different products that you capture. So for that, what I'll do, I'll delete this one because this is from the previous run. So I'll delete this one. Okay, and refresh it because just to see that no file is there. I'll run this from the start from here and in front of you to just showcase you how it works. So look at here, it has opened the Amazon.com. It's typing smartphone. It's reading the data. It's reading from all the pages, not one page. It's reading the data from 3 pages. Now it has done, it is moved to laptops. It's reading the data of laptops. And now it's moved to cameras. It's reading the data of camera. And here we are done because I have not closed the web browser, but it's a good practice to close when you are done. And we can go and refresh this, and you should be able to see a file which contains the data from all of these pages. So we have camera data, we have laptops, we have smartphones. So we have selected only 3 fields. So you can see this data is here, price is here, and rating is here. And how we had done this? We have used this data scrapping, right, from here. So we have selected this field. We have selected this field. Next, we have used this one and this one. Next. So you should be able to see that you are getting the columns data like here. So you need to try multiple times to get the data in an exact way. Sometimes, extraction is not good. So you need to try multiple times before you can find a better way. Okay. Okay, so somehow UiPath has run into a memory issue and I need to restart the UiPath. I'll do it later, but do you have any questions to ask on this before I move ahead and explain something else? Anything related to, scrapping, anything related to how we need to automate the web things? Any questions? Anyone having related to? All good? Okay. Data scraping is something which can be mastered only if you try multiple times. So first time you might not, end up getting not good result. But the moment you try to look at the web pages more clearly, you should be able to understand which divs and tags are identical and how you need to identify the element to grab the data. And when you do that, you should be able to, read the data from any sources. There are a lot many companies, I'll tell you, there are a lot many companies who have built the bot and that is continuously running 24/7 to scrap the data from all of the e-commerce site and do the competition analysis. I have not to tell you the name of the vendor. One vendor is doing is going to all of these e-commerce portal across the globe and trying to search all the beauty products and their prices. And then they get the data into an Excel sheet and they compare that data with the product they have. So RPA is not, applied only in the field of doing automation. It is also applied in the field where you need to get the data in the data sciences. Not many organizations is working with the data scientists together, and there is a one RPA developer who is taking care of pulling out a data from a system where there is no API, or where there is API available but not available publicly. There are some rules and regulation related to the data extractions. You can't go and scrape data from all these public facing websites. But if you are doing it for, in the limitations of our technology, I mean, not sending too many requests or not sending, bulk requests to grab the data every 1 minute, you are good. But if you're sending it too much traffic, Amazon will easily identify and they'll block your bot. So you need to be mindful if you are applying a data scraping technique, right? Any other question before I move on, and I'll explain you about some of the new features that UiPath have. And then we'll be ending this session because that's what the agenda for us to cover. And we have already covered how we can automate the emails. I have shown few examples where you can, work with the Excel activities. And I have shown also example how you can work and interact with the websites. Okay. So far, so good. Okay. So the other thing that I need to explain here is this publish button. So this publish button is a button that is used to publish your code on your orchestrator when you are connected to orchestrator. So you are not connected, and when you connect to orchestrator using the sign in button, and then you should be able to publish this code to the orchestrator. Oh, sorry, there is something wrong with the UiPath cloud and their services is not working. Let's see if it gets connect. Now I'll try to sign in. Try to open it. So this is a pretty straightforward. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's not able to acquire the license. There is a problem with the robot. But once it is connected, you should be able to publish it the code. So once you publish the code, I'll explain you steps after that because somehow it is not working. So once you publish the code, you need to go here on the UiPath orchestrator. Okay. And then once you publish the code, when you come here, the packages will be available, or you should be able to upload the package from here as well. When you have some, packages here. So what I'll do for now is for publishing, I'll do one more thing is I'll go to start, create a new process and save it as a no. Just I want to explain you how the upload works on the orchestrator, right? So I have opened a new project, blank project, just for upload. I want to upload it as a blank process, giving a name blank process, or say to try one. Next, I am not connected to the orchestrator. So what I'll do, I'll put into some folder as of now and manually upload them if the orchestrator is not connected. So I'm saving it on a desktop, putting next. I do not want to do anything. I just published it. So once you have this bot designed, and the moment you publish, it will bundle all of these code into a nugget package. So now if I go to the desktop, or what you can do, let's for the simplicity, publishing is doing on this desktop, not the OneDrive desktop. Or maybe let's do it on D drive on backup side. Select this folder, create a new folder here, nugget, select this folder, next, and publish it. Okay, and when you go to this folder, now will you see that there is a this bundle. When you open the bundle, when you open a bundle, you will see that this is how it is configured. In the package, you will see all the metadata and everything, right? And in the library, you should be able to see the code that you have built. This is the same code that we have built, right? And then in the metadata, you have this, all the properties. So what you can do is you can extract it here, like or I'm not able to extract it. I don't know why. Okay, so let's extract it. Extract into the D drive, backup, and nugget. Okay, so it will be extracted like this one, and code will be here in net 25. All what I'm trying to explain you here is this is a .NET package. This is a .NET code, right? So it works exactly in the same way .NET gets bundled. So you should be able to upload the nugget package directly into the orchestrator, even if the orchestrator is not connected to a studio, right? So I'll come back to this page. I'll select the nugget package that I have saved. So I have saved into the backup drive. I'll go to the nugget, select this blank process, open it, and upload. So the moment I'll upload, the package will come here, right? So the packages has been completed. This could have been done directly if your studio has been connected. If not connected, in the many organization, it is not connected because you need to move it from one environment to another environment. So we do this way. And now, once this package is connected, you need to create a process out of it. So once the package is deployed, you need to select the package, which is this one, and you need to create, you can give a name, anything, and then you can create a process out of a package. So now a process has been created. Once the process has been created, you need to create a job. So job can be created using selection of the process, and you should be able to define the when you need to execute it. Which user should be able to execute it, on which machine you want to execute it, in attended mode or non-attended mode. If you want to do it now, or if you want to schedule it for automatically, you can create a trigger. So for trigger, you need to click on this one. You need to create a trigger on the basis of time and queue. So for now, what I'm doing is I'm creating a trigger run every Sunday. And then you select a process. Then you can select weekly, every Sunday, and then you add it. So it will automatically run every Sunday. And it will be saving your result after every run on Sunday. That's how you should be able to control your bot from the orchestrator. This is a basic example that I have shown you. Lot many things can be done from the orchestrator. But the only thing that I could be able to explain now is how you should be able to schedule a bot when you have created it. So just now I have created a sample bot, schedule it to run for every Sunday. There are a lot many options. You should be able to schedule it every day, every week, every month, or whatsoever you want to do, or every hour, right? With this, I'm done with all the content that I need to explain to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask because we are well before time and I have still 5-10 minutes to help you to answer any of the queries related to RPA, related to the career path, related to the UI path tool or anything. So I'm here for next 10 minutes and I should be able to answer any of the query you have. Please feel free to ask and I'll stop sharing the screen. Any questions from anyone, please feel free to share. Should I take silence as a no questions? All good for everyone, or you guys are still typing your questions? Okay, I'll wait for the 5 minutes, and if there is no questions, will be good to bind this call. Just to reiterate, if you wish to enroll for the courses, you can contact Senthil. He should be able you to guide about the coupons, admission procedure, plans, and everything detailed about the courses. All the course material for the today session and yesterday session, I have already shared you into the file. So you should be able to download that lab exercise and the PPT. I'll also share the PPT for today so that you should be able to view that when you have time and recall whatever we have discussed so far. I'll just share you today's PPT as well. Okay, good to bind this call. Okay then, thanks everyone for joining in. Have a nice day and have a nice weekend. Okay, so one quick thing is about the attendance. So please update your attendance. The Senthil has put the attendance link. So please mark your attendance so that we should be able to understand who has attended or not. Yeah, attendance link is there. Okay. Thanks, Munif. Thanks for your appreciations. And I hope I am able to help you guys to understand how RPA works and navigating through, detailed explanation of some of the things. Ravi, I have already shared the yesterday PPT in the files. So you should be able to download all the PPT from the file section. I have also shared all the lab exercise that we have done today as a zip file so that you should be able to try out them. And if you still have any problem, you should be able to follow few of my articles because I write a lot many blogs on the RPA on this portal. So you should be able to also read some of the articles of this course material on this blog. Okay, all right. If nothing there, we are good to bind this call. Thanks everyone for joining in. Have a nice day.